What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nash here, welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. This week's episode is on the EvilSwarm archetype, or I guess the EvilSwarm archetype, if you will. This is actually the second to last archetype before I talk about the hidden arsenal sets, if you will, that were released over the years. And this is leading into Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1, which I believe we won't be getting that until... It was pushed back to sometime next year. But I'm actually excited for it. I'm actually excited for that archetype. I think it's going to be a really great set. But that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed... excuse me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this series that I've done. I do plan on doing something else as well, but I still have to get the cards necessary to do it, but those are just expensive. So hopefully you guys enjoy. If you do, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you guys are new to the channel, so you guys don't miss out on any of the craziness, on any of the crazy content that I got for you guys on the channel. And without further ado, let's get straight into it. So the EvilSwarm, or I guess the EvilSwarm archetype, which is known as Verse in the OCG, is a dual terminal archetype that is filled with nothing but dark monsters in the main deck, of course, which was introduced in Duel Terminal Sacred Star Knights. However, despite being hang on a second, guys. Did I get that one right? Let me take a look, because I think I got it right. I guess oh, yeah, okay, yeah, I got it right. I thought I didn't. Anyway, as I was saying, despite being released prior to this, the Steel Swarm archetype is actually a sub-archetype, meaning it's a... I guess you could say it's a counter. It's the light counterpart to the Evil Swarms, if you will. Which are supported by cards like EvilSwarm, Exciton Knight, and Steel Swarm Origin, which are the only non-dark members, which those cards are actually light. The most significant feature of the non-Steel Swarms, which are obviously the EvilSwarm, except Kurakion and Exciton Knight, is that their attack and defense they actually end with 50. So if you look at if I still have it, I might still have it in my binder. Hang on, give me 1 second. I'll have to look into my Xyz section. If I still have it, if I still have one, I might be able to show you guys. Which I don't think I do. I think Exciton Knight was like the only one I had. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, I think it's the only one. Other than Exciton Knight, I think that's like the only one. Yeah, so yeah, that's it. Yeah, so Exciton Knight is like the only one I have. Well, anyway, a lot of the monsters have their attack and defense, they end with 50, and with the exception of Copelia and Golem, all of the Evil Swarms are rank 4 as far as the extra deck goes. and as I said before, the TCG name of the archetype is EvilSwarm. So I actually did get the typing correct. Which comes from the evil in the Ivagishki archetype, which I actually talked about earlier on in this series, which I think that was like one of the first ones. What was? That was actually a month ago. I talked about it. So if you guys remember, the EvilSwarm virus actually enveloped the Ivagishki archetype, and they became known as EvilSwarms, and the EvilSwarm virus had possessed Gishki Noelia, which turned him into an evil swarm. So the archetype had received largely mixed responses from a lot of players, because of its boss monster, because of the boss monsters that are in the archetype. More so in particular, EvilSwarm Ophion, which is a pretty broken card, actually. Let me look up its effect. EvilSwarm Ophion, ladies and gentlemen. Which was released in Duel, which I believe was it really Duel Saga was released in? Okay, get rid of that ad. Thank you. Its reprint was actually Duelist Saga. It was the only reprint of its kind. Yeah, literally the only reprint of its kind as far as worldwide. Yeah. So Duelist Saga was its first and only reprint, actually, which is kind of crazy. But EvilSwarm Ophion is a dark attribute Dragon Exceeds with rank 4, mind you, with 2550 attack, 1650 defense, and requires 2 level 4 EvilSwarm or EvilSwarm monsters. So it could be any monster with EvilSwarm in its name. It could be a Seal Swarm or even an EvilSwarm for that matter. And it says, while this card has Exceeds material, level 5 or higher monsters cannot be special summoned. So it's sort of like a... What's the card? I'm trying to remember the name. It's kind of like that one monster that we got from Battles of Legend Armageddon last year. Yoi, I believe was his name. Where you can't summon anything. Basically, it's kind of similar to that. Once per turn, you can detach 1 material from this card, add 1 infestation spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So not only is it not only is it an interruption with the special summons, but you can also add any infestation spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So it's kind of like a Stratos for spells and traps, which is really cool. Really cool. But because and truth be told, Ophion can efficiently and effectively completely shut down synchro-based decks, and it became marginally more lukewarm with the rise of the Exceed Center decks, if you will. So Ophion so again with Ophion, it stops your opponent from summoning, from spamming the board with a bunch of synchros and whatnot. Now which is just absurd. Now as far as the members go, there are several. So as far as the EvilSwarms go, you have quite a few actually. You have Azathoth. You have Bahamut, Castor, Capella, Golem, Heliotrope, I don't know how to pronounce that one. Razvelg? Razvelg, I believe is the name. Razvelg, Karikion, Ketos, Mandragora, Nightmare, O-Lantern, Obliviwisp, Ophion, Ouroboros, Salamandra, Thanatos, Thunderbird, and Zack. So those are just those are just some of the members. I believe those are the Xyz monsters, if I remember correctly. I believe so. Now the story behind this is the fact that, well, the EvilSwarm virus pretty much took over. Hang on one second, guys. Literally, my nose is like. Ugh. Forgive me, guys. My nose is like running a little bit. No, I am not sick. Might have had something to do with the flu shot I got yesterday. Anyway, so basically with the story, it ties into pretty much all of the other archetypes. The EvilSwarm virus took over, and the crisis, if you will, had struck the Duel Terminal World. All living things across the Duel Terminal World had been corrupted. Their bodies were warped. Their minds were slowly seized by a desire to destroy anything that was strong, basically, and it became impossible to interact with others. The elders of the Duel Terminal World linked it to an ancient lore of an identical plague, that being the EvilSwarm virus. Not much else to say about that. Now, the strategy behind this is kind of interesting because it's just, with this archetype, the EvilSwarms have the power to spam your board with a bunch of rank 4 and rank 5 Xyz monsters, which by using cards like Castor, Mandragora, and even also Karakion, with those monsters in particular, you can swarm the board with a bunch of powerful Xyz monsters and control the deck with EvilSwarm Ophion, which would prevent the summon of any level 5 or higher monsters, i.e. synchros or fusions, depending on what deck you chose. Which would shut down decks like Chaos Dragons, Agents. Even now it can actually shut down Stardust decks, which is pretty insane. And not only that, with a card like EvilSwarm Nightmare, it disrupts the special summons. It disrupts the special summons, and EvilSwarm Bahamut can permanently take control of your opponent's monster for a cost, meaning obviously it's Xyz material. EvilSwarm Ouroboros, my mind went blank. Sorry guys, my mind went blank for a second. EvilSwarm Ouroboros can be used to gain not only card advantage, card advantage in the hand, but also card advantage on the field, just by banishing a monster from your opponent's graveyard, instantly disrupting cards like Grapha, Dragonlord of Dark World, or Steel Swarm Scout, or even Treeborn Frog, because with a card like Grapha, it can just float. It floats from the grave when its pop effect is triggered. It can float from the grave back onto the field, and then it can float from the grave back into the deck if you play cards like Pot of Avarice or even also to Jar of Avarice as well, depending on how you see it. Treeborn Frog was used a lot back in the day, especially during Monarch format. Monarch used had completely abused Treeborn Frog to the point of no return. Thus the reason Treeborn Frog got banned for a while, but it's been back on the list for a while. There are some decks that can use Chaos Zone effectively, as Salamandra and Thunderbird can provide a large amount of counters repeatedly, which are useful in their own right, if you will. And using a card like Chaos Zone can benefit from a card like Creeping Darkness, as it adds more more versatile, if you will, to the deck itself. And also too, because that the EvilSwarms are dark monsters, Allure of Darkness is just broken, you know. So now, as far as like some of the other cards that they can use in a EvilSwarm deck, cards like Dark Arm Dragon can be used. You know, obviously Infestation Pandemic, EvilSwarm Logia and Dolka could be possible if you were running a small Dino package, which is probably not possible, but still, another good addition is obviously cards like Foolish Burial, Rescue Rabbit, Forbidden Lands, Dark Illusion, which I think is a Solemn Judgment, so to speak. And speaking of Solemn Judgment, you can actually also use Solemn Judgment as well if you were feeling rich, if you will, because if you guys remember Solemn Judgment from Metal Raiders, oof, I think it was like what, a couple $100 back in the day. So yeah, it was pretty insane. Dark Bride would be another good one. Pot of Duality, Reinforcement of the Army could be useful if you were running a warrior package as well. So it could be useful. Summoner Monk is another pretty good one, and even also cards like Abyss Dweller can also be useful in the extra deck because it stops your opponent from any and all graveyard plays that they have, if you will. Now, as far as the relationship of the EvilSwarms, this archetype shared a close name with the Steel Swarms, which were from the previous Duel Terminal story arc, if you will. While it is true that they both consist of dark monsters, the inverse could be seen as a shortened version of Insect Verse, if you will, or Insectoid Verse, meaning the Verse virus might have been around long before the Steel Swarms even showed up, and you guys know the Steel Swarms are basically insects, if you will, while as opposed to EvilSwarms, they're basically fiends, so to speak. And truth be told, there have been several theories about the EvilSwarms and their relationship, if you will. So one possible theory is that, aside from the one I just mentioned, another one could be that the L Swarm virus could have become a defense mechanism that the Steel Swarms implemented upon extinction that would work to reconstruct their race or their tribe, if you will. By using the virus to control Gishki Noelia, they would be able to resurrect Steel Swarm Hercules, which is the overlord, the ruler of the Steel Swarms. Why can I not speak this morning? So it is possible that with the distraction of the Steel Swarms, by the hands of the Vylons, the virus could have corrupted or even copied pretty much any of the other dual terminal archetypes, which could be such as Ice Barrier, Mist Valley, the Worms, Naturias, Dragoonity, even Lobbles, even Vylons themselves if they want it. And for those who don't know, the ver part is French for worm, crazy enough, which may signify that their role was their role may have with the worms in the previous story might have been basically it was like a horror movie. Basically, it was like watching a horror movie. And to be fair, how can I put this? It was like a horror movie. It was a horror movie like antagonist deal, if you will. So basically, it has something to do with the Vylons and the fabled archetype as well, which I actually talked about earlier on in this series. And because of the virus, they were sealed underground after losing. The EvilSwarms were sealed underground against the Vylon, if you will, which would have made them stronger. So yeah, but of course they were not considered dark counterparts because of the lack of attributes that they composed, which was like sharing the attack, defense, level of rank with their non-dark counterpart, or for just having dark in their name, if you will. However, some would consider them similar to the Malefic archetype, if you will. So it's kind of interesting. Now, as far as the weakness of the of this archetype, because that they're dark attributes, cards like the Quakimerus, and also cards like Shadow Embracing Mirror and Concentrated Light can just completely shut down the deck itself. Cards like Skill Drain, Angel 7, and Forbidden Chalice can also negate the effects of the EvilSwarms on the field. Which if you use this against, if you use a card like Chalice on Ophion, its effect would be negated, and you would be able to go into your synchro plays easily. So you would be able to spam your board with a bunch of synchros and just attack per game. So cards like Chalice and Skill Drain could be very useful, but using a card like Skill Drain can also backfire on you because of the fact that it not only works on you, but your opponent as well. So you got to be careful using Skill Drain. And also too, many of the EvilSwarms have a pretty fair amount of attack. So a card like Luminous Soldier can easily in its own argument, it can easily dispatch pretty much every EvilSwarm monster except for Ouroboros. And also too, if you're playing EvilSwarms, watch out for a card known as Mystical Fury Alfuria, which I'm actually going to look up its effect really quickly. I believe I believe it was Cosmo Blazer was its release. Once per turn, you can reveal one wind monster in your hand until your opponent's next end phase. Neither player can exceed someone using monsters with a different level from the reveal monster as exceeds material. So basically, you could just reveal a 4-star monster in your hand, like say a Harpy. Your opponent can't summon anything. Literally they cannot summon anything, which is just nutty. And with her backed by a bunch of cards in the back row or some form of other protection, your opponent you just can't play. You won't be able to play any form of Yu-Gi-Oh at all. You would just have no choice but to scoop right off the bat. You know, and also too, you can even also play Constellars against the EvilSwarms, which I talked about in last week's episode. If you guys have not checked that out, I recommend watching it. But cards like Constellar Pleiades or Sorleaf Paladynamo can also be used against can be used against the EvilSwarms because with their high enough attack, they can easily just overpower some of the EvilSwarms with ease, just right off the bat. And also too, common, and as far as the side deck goes, cards like Gen X Ally Duradark can be pretty useful because it can easily destroy a monster in the EvilSwarm archetype, provided that they're in attack position. If they're in defense position, then you're pretty much just screwed. And as far as some of the other common side deck cards that you can use, Rivalry of Warlords is pretty cool because it can prevent players from going into Xyz play, into their Xyz plays that has a different type than the monsters that they have. So definitely use some of these cards. Even also too, cards like Fiendish Chain can also be used. But if you which now is like budget because it's only like maybe a couple bucks on TCG Player or something like that. It depends on what cards that you feel like using. But yeah, as far as like some of the different decks that were played back in the day, there was one that I want to look up. I need to look it up because I think there was a top from way back in the day. Let me see. I want to, let's see, top 32. There was, let's see. There was actually a YCS back in Philly. There was a YCS back years ago that used that someone was playing actually playing EvilSwarms, and we actually have one. I'm actually gonna look up the name. So what was the name? Let's see. Let's see. So there was okay, I think I found this. So there was a here we go. Finally. So there was a YCS back in Philly, back in 2014. YCS Philly 2014. A guy, a individual by the name of Nizar Sarhan, shout out of course, actually placed top 32 with this EvilSwarm deck, and the cards that he had are just insane. Because the main deck consisted of 3 Castor, 3 Heliotrope, 3 Karakion, 1 Ketos, 2 Mandragora, 1 O-Lantern, 2 Thunderbird, and 1 Rescue Rabbit. Though that's the monster lineup. The spell lineup, he was running Dark Hole, 1 Dark Hole, 2 Forbidden Dress, 3 Infestation Pandemic, 3 MST, 1 Rhoda, and 2 Soul Charge. And back then, Soul Charge was at 3 back then, truth be told, if my memory serves correct. For the traps, he had 2 Black Horn of Heaven, 1 Bottomless, 1 Dark Illusion, 1 Debunk, 1 Dimensional Prison, 2 Fiendish Chain, 1 Infestation Infection, 1 Solemn Warning, 1 Torrential Tribute, and 1 Wiretap. So the trap lineup was not only to wipe out his opponent's board, but also to be able to just prevent his opponent from playing any form of Yu-Gi-Oh at all. And Wiretap was like, and cards like Fiendish Chain was like one of the big cards to use for, you know, in this deck. The extra deck, he had 1 Bahamut, 2 Exciton Knight, 3 Ophion, 1 Gaga Cowboy, obviously to finish off games, and 2 number 101 Silent Honor Arc. Honestly, he could have added more. You know, he could have added cards, you know, cards like maybe Utopia, maybe even, you know, maybe even also, maybe a 3rd Exciton Knight. And if he was running, if he had the rank up spell, I think Barion's Force or something like that, he could have also added Silent Honor Dark as well, which would have been pretty cool as well. The side deck, he had a 2nd Bahamut, the side deck, I think. Oh, okay. I guess he never had a side deck. I guess he never had a side deck. I guess I don't. Oh, he did, but it's the same ones. It's literally the same ones. One Bahamut, 2 Exciton Knight, 3 Ophion, 1 Cowboy, and 2 Silent Honor. So I don't know what was the deal there. I don't know what the deal is there, because you guys, if you guys know, in 2005, 2006, Konami had made a rule where you have to have no less than 40 cards in your main deck, but you can also add more cards, which would go up to 60 at that time. So I wonder what his side deck would have been, but shoutouts to him. He got a top, and I think this was the one where he was able to get his invite into Worlds. Let me see. When was this? May 2014. Yeah, so this was one of the last few YCSs before Worlds, and there were so many different decks back in the day. There were so many different decks back in the day, but it was mostly like you had the cards. You had decks like Medulche, which actually Medulche got first place at YCS Philly by Chris LeBlanc. Big shout out. I'm actually curious about that deck. I'm actually curious about the deck. What deck did he play? Oh, let's see. Not what I was hoping. Not what I was hoping. Let me see. Medulche. Let's look at the deck. Let's take a look at the deck. Medulche, you have 1 DD Crow, 2 Fire Hand, 2 Ice Hand, 3 Angeli, 3 Hoot Cake, 3 Mageline, 3 Messenger Gelato, 3 Mufuli, and 3 Maxi. Maxi was at 3 back then, crazy enough. Spells, you had 2 Double Summon, 2 Chateau, 1 Ticket, and 1 MST. Traps, you had Bottomless, 1 Bottomless, Double Breakthrough, 1 Compulse, 2 Dimensional Prison, 1 Muddle Palooza, 2 Phoenix Wing Wind Blast, 1 Solemn Warning, and a Torrential. Extra deck, you had Abyss Dweller, Diamond Dire Wolf, Exciton Knight, Gaga Cowboy, Ghost Ray Alucard, Leviair the Sea Dragon, MX Saber Invoker, Monolshe, Queen Tiramisu, Silent Honor Arc, Ragna Zero, Black Ship of Corn, Tempo the Percussion Djinn, and Wind Up Zen Mines. And the side deck you had DD, you had the third DD Crow, the 3rd Ice Hand, the 3rd Fire Hand, the 1 Swift Scarecrow, the 1 Dark Hold, the other 2 MSTs, 3 Black Horn of Heaven, 2 Debunk, 2 Needle Ceiling, and a Soul Drain. So I'm surprised that deck actually won. Kind of crazy, but yeah, basically, the deck did get a few tops back in the day. Do I see this archetype getting any more support? Honestly, it's hard to say, because as far as like as far as the sets that we got good, like really good support in, you had Hidden Arsenal 5 Steel Storm Invasion, Hidden Arsenal 6 Omega Xyz, Hidden Arsenal 7 Knight of Stars, Legacy of the Valiant, and then new support for them. We got them in sets like Generation Force, the 2012 Tins, the 2.5 wave, of course, Duel Terminal 5B, 6A, Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, Duel of Saga, Battles of Legend, Light Revenge, Extreme Force, and the Egyptian God deck, Obelisk the Tormentor. So I don't remember what card was in that, what EvilSwarm was in that deck. I'm actually going to take a look at it right now really quickly before I end this video and I take up too much time. So let's see. Oh, Mandragora. Man, Mandragora was the one. Mandragora, Salamandra. No, you're not going to go down. Thank you. Let's see. Mandragora, Salamandra, and I think that's it. Yeah. Those are the only 2. Yeah. So, do I believe this archetype needs new support? Absolutely. I feel like if this archetype were to get more, at least 2 more Xyz monsters that were like really broken, I think this archetype could really skyrocket, and instead of it getting a top 32, it could get like top 16, top 8, maybe Final 4 at best. In my honest opinion. But that brings me to the question of the day: what are your thoughts on the EvilSwarm archetype, and do you guys believe this archetype needs new support? Let me know in the comments below, and that will do it for today's episode of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash the thumbs up button if you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh's Biggest Issue, which gets posted every Friday. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. All the links will be down in the description below. And if you guys have fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.